Okay, so welcome everyone to the 13 moon, the mysteries of the 13 moons. We just had our final full moon of the year in Gemini, and we are now readying ourselves for um, moving into 2020 is what we're doing. And this today's webinar will be focused on 3 reasons why you're out of integrity in alignment with the moon and the new moon in Capricorn and the full moon in Cancer. And so today is December 14th, and we are going to kick this off. So welcome Cheryl and Christine and everyone, and let's get started.
All right. Okay. Oops, hold on. Gotta move these over. Okay, so what we're going to cover in this call, titled it 3 Ways You're Out of Integrity and How to Walk Your Talk. I have to say something funny about the title of this course. You know, the three of us get together when we're about to preview the next cycle, and we kind of brainstorm on what the theme is for the next month. And what came up this month is talking about being out of integrity. And it's really funny because I feel like there can be some baggage around the word integrity. And I was sitting across the table from a friend last night when she saw the webinar title, and she was like, "Ooh," like had that sort of gut reaction to it. And I'm like, I know, I think that's really what this is about. So what we're going to cover today is we're going to talk about what integrity is, 3 ways you're not in integrity or may not be in integrity, and why. We're going to talk about the upcoming Capricorn Cancer moon cycle, and we are going to talk about the moon phases, and we also will invite you in ways that you can go deeper with this information and work with us in this upcoming month. All right. I don't know where to put these pictures. Okay. So what is integrity? I put the definition here because I think it really summarizes the dilemma with integrity that a lot of people have. And so the first definition is the quality of being honest and having strong moral principles, moral uprightness. He is known to be a man of integrity. And when I read that, what comes up for me is whose moral principles? You know, what is this moral uprightness based on? And I think that this is sometimes the crux of the issue with integrity. And the second definition really solves that issue, the state of being whole and undivided. And when I think about integrity, that's really what it's about for me. It's not who do I say I am, what beliefs do I align myself with that belong to other people, but it's how much am I at peace with myself as a whole? How much do I act from the place that is the most true for me? Because I think that when we have that experience of feeling like, oh, that person's out of integrity, what's really going on? You know, we're usually experiencing maybe somebody isn't doing what we want them to do, or, you know, isn't showing up in the way that they said they would. And a lot of times that experience of external integrity is really just a reflection of internal. You know, sometimes the way that you show up or are able to show up in how you say you will is really based on how much you are in connection with who you really are. Are you making decisions from a place that's really in alignment with you? Do you say yes to things that really aren't in integrity to you? And that's when we flake out, you know, like that's when integrity becomes a difficult thing. So we just wanted to have a little discussion about that and talk about some of the ways in which it becomes imbalanced. And Monique and Cheryl, did you have anything else to add to that idea?
I just really appreciate this understanding around morality, because that's something that I've always questioned coming out of Christianity. like what is really morality? And it was been very personal for me because as a Christian, I was taught that a woman should only have one lover and a husband. And as a child, that was very challenging for me around the conversation of morality and like do I own my own body, or do like um, is a having a mother as a prostitute? That was the thing. It was like, is she morally wrong for being a sex worker? And so I really appreciate this conversation around integrity. So thank you. That's all I want to say.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll just add, Christine, I appreciate that you brought forward how when we're not in integrity with ourselves, we are usually finding ourselves out of integrity with something outside of us because we're moving to align with somebody else's truth and not our own. And then the waters get really watery in that situation. And so I just love that we're having this conversation because I think it's important that we are able to discern what is true for us versus what is it that we're doing to align with somebody else's truth. Because when we're in that situation, it's going to become very sticky. And there's lots of room for obstacles and that challenges and that kind of a decision. So yeah, that's what I would add.
Yeah, I think the important thing about it is that it's an inward out, not an outward in. I think where it gets imbalanced is when we're trying to find it outward and go in rather than the other way around. All right. So the first way in which it's really common to have to wrestle with this in terms of being in integrity is emotional integrity. And what do I mean by emotional integrity? We are all emotional beings. We have emotions. They flow through us. Being in integrity with emotions means, can I simply feel what I'm feeling and can I register that? And that sounds really simple, but that sometimes is a challenge. There's lots of different ways that we learn to not be able to be with certain emotions. And so really the first question is, am I comfortable just feeling what I feel without trying to fix it, without trying to change it? Can I just register my emotions? Because it's difficult to, move to the next level and express emotions if you're not even sure what you feel, if you're numbed out, if you don't allow yourself your emotions, if you judge how you feel. I used to have a lot of judgment around anger, and so I just didn't let myself feel it. And it's not uncommon to do that. Emotions that we learned were wrong or bad things happen when these emotions happen. Sometimes we just shut them down and aren't willing to feel them. So one of the ways that you can be out of integrity emotionally is not being willing to feel what you feel. And then from there, being able to express what you feel. So you can sit with emotions, register them. Can you actually express what you feel outwardly? Can you be a person that your insides match your outsides? And one of the biggest reasons that we don't do this is about others. Can I share what I really feel? Is that going to upset somebody else? I always say that how someone responds to what you genuinely feel really isn't your business, but we make it our business all the time. I need something from that person, so I'm not going to share with them what I really think because I don't want to lose something. There's all kinds of ways where that gets twisted around, and we don't really just genuinely share what we feel. There's ways in which we judge how we feel, or we judge parts of ourselves that feel certain things. I want to be this person that is all love and light and kind, and I don't want to express things that look ugly or uncomfortable. And so someone who is in emotional integrity, you can be emotionally authentic. You can be real. People can feel that from you. You feel your feelings, you express them at an appropriate intensity for the situation without regard to what anyone else will think. That's really what it looks like in action when you have emotional integrity. right.
That was great, Christine. Thank you. So let's talk about mental integrity. This is one of the things that I was challenged with being a Gemini. I spend a lot of time in my head, and so we can get out of mental integrity by engaging in negative self-talk. And what I mean by that is negative self-talk is the act of using phrases or words, spoken or written, while talking about yourself. And we usually pick up these narratives when we're small children from the authority figures that are around us, from our society. Self-talk is a very normal process. We all do it, and we're doing it all the time. It's that in our subconscious mind, which is where we're creating all our reality, which is where we're getting the stimulation, that the stimulus that we need to have these emotional responses. What we've got going on in our subconscious mind is like a narrative that runs as a tape in the back. And if we can get out of integrity with our own thinking as we're trying to move forward and create in a way that is reflective of a high self-esteem. One of the ways that I get caught up in negative self-talk and have had to work with these ways along the way is, I could catch myself just making a comment that I look awful today. And it would just be this normal thought that would run through the back of my mind, but it diminished me enough that I would be out of integrity with myself and how I was interacting with the world all day long. Or telling a story that because somebody ignored me, I would attach onto this story that they just disliked me. And I would continue with this negative narrative that would then bring me out of integrity with myself in relationship to this person and what was really true. Or the other tape I had was being stupid, right? I would just have this tape that would say, I'm never going to get this figured out. I just must be stupid. And stupid was a narrative that I picked up, a self-talk tape that I got that really sabotaged me along the way. So in order to be able to come back into balance with this, we really need to get an accurate internal voice, right? A narrative that's speaking our truth. We have to be able to find a way to interrupt the pattern. We can't necessarily help what we think, but we can choose the direction we want to go with our thinking. And when we're able to do that, we're bringing ourselves back into an accurate perspective of who we are. And then this reflects in a congruent way as we're creating our world outside of ourselves, how we're interacting with those people, places, and situations, or our material world or our finances, right? As soon as we can interrupt that self-talk, move from a negative to a positive, then we bring ourselves into a much better position in the world. But it's a muscle, and it takes a deliberate willingness, really, to see yourself and to make the shift to come back into integrity and speak and write, right? Speak those words and write those words that are your truth. Your truth. Yes.
Thank you. I wanted to add something about emotional integrity that just came into my mind while we were sitting here. And, one of the there's sort of a flip side of emotions that, it's one thing to be able to feel them, to be able to express, to, not be shutting down emotions. There are also times, and especially with moving into a Capricorn cycle as we are, there's times where you also need to not make emotions overly important. You need to not attach to emotions as the only reality, because the truth is that emotions are fleeting. They come and they go. They move through, and I think when we don't grab onto them and judge them, they just do their thing. They flow through. And so I think another way that you can be out of imbalance is actually the opposite, is making the emotion so important that you can't just move forward whatever you need to move through in that moment. So I just wanted to add that.
So, can you hear me? This is Monique.
Mhm.
Okay, great. So,
Mhm.
physical integrity and actions. So, this one is very much dependent upon what both Cheryl and Christine just said, because the emotions are an internal thing and the mental voice is an internal thing. But both of those aspects inform what we then take action on. So, say for instance, I have had an experience in my life where I have felt very incapable of dealing with my emotions, feeling them, the fear, the sadness, the deep despair, feeling deep experiences of suicide and all of that. And so one of the ways that I used to work with my emotions when I couldn't find clarity mentally is I would do long distance running. I literally would run until I was exhausted. So I would run marathons. So for years I marathon trained. And on some level that was a way for me to be in physical integrity with the amount of emotion that I was feeling connected to the confusion. One way to work it out was just to run until I collapsed and then I could get a little clarity. And I did this for years until I could then decipher what are the thoughts that are coming with these feelings. So it's a very internal external practice. And we not now I don't want to speak for anyone. So also one of the ways for me and many women might relate to is emotional eating. Like something comes up inside of me and then I feel a certain overwhelm, or I feel myself kind of black out, like it's too much. I can't handle what's happening. And so the way that I will then support myself in that or not physically is a real thing. Like, will I eat ice cream or will I go for a walk and walk it out until I feel better? The ice cream is totally a fine choice, but does that compound? Will I feel good about the ice cream choice, or will I then judge myself? So it's these things are very intertwined. There are a lot of moving pieces, and it comes back to the definition of being honest. And the first person that I'm asking myself to be honest with is myself. What is it that I'm really feeling here? And what will be the best choice that will be in integrity with my long term desire, which is well being or success or something like that? So, am I going to, if I feel tired, it's 5 o'clock in the morning, am I going to get up and go exercise? Or am I going to allow myself to sleep more? Which is going to be better and what's really needed? There's so it's very internal. and and that will the action that I take and I find that we all take will then inform the next thing. Like it's like a one brick upon the next brick. The choice, the thought, the feeling, the choice, the action. It's a brick and then it builds into the next thing. And so it really creates it's how our internal systems then inform our external way of being. So I hope that's helpful.
Yeah, thank you. And it's a really good point too, that a lot of times um, when you have the like big emotions and the self-talk and all of that, sometimes just taking some action moves it
Mm-hmm.
and there's movement and it
Yeah.
shifts from that point. And it's hard to do sometimes in the overwhelm, but it's the thing that works, just
Yeah.
taking any action, almost whatever you feel moved to do next. All right.
So we are going to be coming into the Capricorn new moon, Cancer full moon, and I am so excited about this because this work is it's rigorous, but it's so rewarding. It's such a deep level. And right now, Capricorn has Jupiter, Saturn, Pluto, and the South Node in it. And while Cancer has the North Node in it. So we really are coming into the space where we get to let go of a lot of old internal structures and external structures that no longer serve us while creating new ones. And it's just a very exciting time. What do you say, Christine?
I think exciting is a good word for it.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, this particular cycle that we're moving into, there's a lot of intensity around it. One of the astrological events that's been happening is this Saturn-Pluto conjunction, and it's going to perfect in January and be exact. We've already been feeling it. We're already doing it, but this is sort of the culmination of everything that has been happening. So all of the emptying out, all of the structures that are falling apart, and like this is when we're doing the work of building the new ones.
Yeah.
And so yeah, and it's eclipse season. Like it's just, this is there's a lot going on in this next month.
Absolutely.
And
having an eclipse on Christmas Day.
Yeah, exactly. So this is like our old systems are being disrupted, and this particular moon cycle that we're moving into is really going to be highlighting that.
Yes. And with all the changes and transformation that are going on, it's very significant to really understand that internal our feelings and our thoughts. One of the things I'm seeing really every day, almost like having to be very what do I want to say, rigorous with myself around my thinking, very rigorous with my thinking, and not allowing myself to even go back into old ways. Like it's almost like that thought form is, you cannot go back any longer. It is done. It doesn't exist. And this is the work that allows us to see and to discover and to know how to do that, to create new pathways, because it's a very deliberate, it's like being a sculptor in a way, or an artist, and creating like hair, and you need it to look as real as possible. So you have to really pay attention to the details internally of what's going on. And so I'm excited about this.
I'm excited about these little goats too.
Yeah, I was going to say those goats are adorable. And from elemental wisdom, the new moon and the full moon are perfect in that it's an earth and a water sign. And it really allows us to be in touch with our water, our emotions, right? Our intuitive flow, and to be aware of that responsibility, right? Are we responsible to bring forth what we need to put those new structures and foundations into place? So from a broader perspective and looking at the elemental wisdom, it is a powerful setup for success if we're paying attention, of course, if we choose the right focus, right?
Thank you for that, Cheryl.
Yeah, can we nurture ourselves through these changes? Like that's really what this is going to bring up.
So the 8 phases of the moon, I love the 8 phases of the moon. This process in itself is a tool for transformation. Every phase of the moon offers us an opportunity to look at whatever that focus is that we're going to have this month, right, from every direction possible. It allows us to clear the way it was before within our own mind, within our own heart, within our own body, and then to refocus our energies and identify what's necessary to come out of that old infrastructure and literally bring into place the new infrastructure. Everything you're going to need mentally and emotionally and physically. It empowers you to reinvent yourself over and over again. It's just a great tool for transformation, and the more you do the process, the more you embody the process, and the more it becomes part of your subconscious creation. So it's a real powerful perspective to bring on board into your psyche. Yeah.
Yeah, I think the thing that I love the most about working through these phases of the moon are that we're powerful in a different way at different times during the month. And it's like the more you work with it, you learn to internalize that to the point where it's like you don't even have to think about it. You just know, like, oh, this is the energy we're in. This is what this is really good for. And it becomes like when you practice it, it becomes almost second nature. That you really like, you learn to align with what is there and what is available instead of working against or pushing against. Like you learn to really flow into like this particular phase of the moon is really the time to act. This is the phase to be more internal. And it brings a more natural flow and connection because we're connected with the moon regardless of whether we're paying attention to it or not. And this just brings it conscious so that you can actually direct it. And so what we're going to be focusing on as we start the new moon cycle, and the new cycle starts on December 18th, is how to find your true integrity. So some of these themes that we brought up today, those are some of the questions that we might be looking at this month when you decide on objectives for the month. Like these may be some of the themes coming up. You know, how do we build these new structures in integrity with ourselves? You know, things that are actually in alignment with us. And what we do in the moon room is we guide you through these phases. We have practices, rituals, meditations to support you, and we're there day to day to support you. And so that's a little bit of what we'll be focusing on this month.
So today we are inviting you to join the 13 Moons Initiation, and it is for the first month. It will be $25. The new cycle the next cycle starts on December 28th for December 28th, 2019, and we are at the end, right? So I'm at the end of the year, and so it'll go to from the end of the year to through the beginning of January for 28 days, and we'll be working together.
Over the 18th. I think you said 28th, but it'll be.
Okay, yes. I don't know
week
where I am. Okay, great. Yes, thank you.
Yeah.
Sorry.
You're in the moon, void, and Cancer. That's
I
where
am,
you are.
yes. Okay, great. Thank you.
I was just telling my friend before this call, like, this is my void moon. This is where my sun is. So the moon is right now.
So you're totally energized, totally in your space. Right, exactly. And I'm floating away. Okay, great.
Yeah. All right.
Okay, so if you joined this work with us this month, we have a private Facebook group. We have daily guidance with daily videos. Cheryl will be doing rituals for the 28 days. We will offer 2 meditations, a conversation around how this energy is impacting you directly in your own life, accountability exercises, monthly astrological calls, and emails that help you focus on the phases. And so this work is life transforming. And I know I talk about it all the time because I love it, but my life has been changed by it. And I think that Cheryl and there are others of you here who know that that same thing is true. And so I encourage you to join us. The code,
That screen.
The code to join for $25 this month is 13 Moons Capricorn. So all you need to do is this bit.ly account, the bit.ly link. You follow this link and you can register with the 13 Moons Capricorn. And then we'll send you out an email and get you in the private groups and all of that. And we're going to get started on the 18th. So with that, all is well.
Does anyone have any questions or comments or thoughts they want to share? You can unmute yourself or you can type in the chat if you did. Otherwise, thank you for joining us. Serena, Sabrina, Ramona, all the A's.
Isn't that great?
That's so cute.
So thank you so much, and everyone do some self-nurturing and self-care today with this. Oh, someone has a question. Let's see what it is. Oh, she said thank you. Absolutely, you're welcome. All right, everyone, have a wonderful Saturday. Peace and
Thank you.
blessings.
You too.
Bye-bye.
Peace and blessings.